Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is a AP60A. I think that's Tribeca if my memory serves me. It's been a while since we did any rants. Actually we did one recently, but before that it's been a while. So let's do a little tiny rant. Look at this. This was dispensed yesterday. Last night, right? And it doesn't solidify. Finally, I solved the viscosity problem, because the problem with previous batches was that the needle will get clogged up because the flux dries, right? And it solidifies essentially. This one does not solidify, and it's been, well, I don't know, maybe around 24 hours, possibly. And this is unused, unactivated, right? So it just squeezed from the tube, right? And it's nice and soft all around. And there's another one, a little snake. I gotta find something else to poke it. Yeah, it's nice and soft. It's kind of like a paste, but you know, now it's very easy to squeeze. All my previous blends of 559 ended up being essentially useless because of that. They solidify way too much. I mean, I can live with that, and I've been using this one. As you can see, I went through the majority of the tube. So yeah, you can use it, but you can't put needle on it and just expect it to work. The next day you have to like submerge the needle in some alcohol to just kind of loosen it. So that was the problem. And actually the problem was a lot easier than I thought it would be, because it was just a matter of precision, nothing more. Since I work with relatively small samples, that's 120 milliliters of a rosin solution, and for that, you know, you literally need micrograms of certain substances. And obviously I don't have a scale that would register that little, and even if I did have a scale, what do I use to actually do that, to actually measure that? You know, how do I transport it to the scale and then from the scale to the solution? But I found a better way. So this was actually not even a problem of chemistry, it was an engineering problem. Essentially, the formula for this flux is relatively simple, and I can give you all the ingredients. There's not a lot of them. But then it just becomes an engineering problem. How do you actually combine those with each other, right? And what the process is. That's the proprietary part of it, not the actual ingredients. And I usually share the base ingredients of my flux anyways. But I think I'm gonna just focus on the 559 formula, because it seems to be working a lot better. And we're gonna test it today again. But the viscosity problem is solved. Now the only problem I have to solve is the acidity. I need it to be a little more acidic based on Tony's experiments. It doesn't deoxidize the pads for reballing well enough, right? It's just not aggressive enough. And because I always test it on my bench before I send it to anyone, obviously. But you know, I don't do much reballing at the moment. Hopefully Nathan will send me some CPUs to work on the CPU swaps. So I will be doing a lot of reballing. So for my purposes, it works perfectly fine without any acidity, right? But what do I do? You know, wicking, general soldering, right? That kind of stuff. Yeah, I work with you know, corroded parts from time to time, like ECMs and stuff. Sometimes they are highly corroded, but even then, my flux performs pretty well. But again, it's a different niche, because it doesn't have to be that precise in my case, and in Tony's case, it has to be really precise. Well, anyways, I was going to make a little more today, or and overall this week, I was gonna make a lot more flux, but the neighbors are complaining about the smell. So I ordered a fume extractor from Amazon, and we are going to see if that's gonna solve the problem. If not, I have a big problem to solve, because you know, it's not like the flux is selling like fresh bread, but I don't know. I was hoping to get the production scaled up a little bit, but I'm facing a problem of neighbors who don't like the smell. And you know, it's not like I don't understand that. They complain that it's wood stain or wood treatment chemical, which it isn't, right? So it's not like it's not good for you or anything. But you know, I can't be convincing people that no, it's actually nothing to see here, right? Don't be concerned, because it's just the smell. I like the smell, but they don't, and obviously they have every right to complain. So you know how it is. If it rains, it pours. So we'll solve that problem. But you know, I always when times are tough, I always watch some, you know, true crime genre or something like that, and that always makes me feel better, because you see people who have a lot worse problems than I do, you know. So that's kind of a pick me up, you know. It always could have been worse, you know. I see those sentencing videos when people are sentenced to, you know, decades in prison or life and that kind of stuff. You know, that's a bad day. So that usually picks me up a bit. And recently, there was, I don't know if you guys heard. Well, it's pretty well known now. But there was a lady, DoorDasher, and usually I consume a little bit of that content, not often, but a little bit, because I used to do DoorDash, and now I just kind of don't have time for that, luckily, because I don't really enjoy it. I mean, yeah, it wasn't bad. Once you get a hang of it, once you find your spots and stuff, you know, it gets a lot easier, right? Don't judge it by, you know, if you did it for like a week and you say, oh, there's no money in there and it's hard and stuff. No, don't do that. Give it a month, because once you become more proficient, it's a lot better deal. It's kind of a skill issue, you know, if you're not making money on DoorDash or Uber or stuff like that, because you just need to be a little smarter about it, because the app is going to try to take advantage of you, and you just have to take advantage of the app, essentially. Oh, this flux works awesome. See that? I think it's awesome. Doesn't quite boil. It's still a little bit thick when you put the needle on it, but nothing, you know, it's not like the previous ones where you had to like really put a lot of effort into squeezing it. This one squeezes just fine. It could be a little thinner, I guess, but we'll see. Anyways, the lady, DoorDasher, allegedly was sexually assaulted by the customer, right? And now let me give you her side of the story, okay? She was delivering food and she got assaulted. Simple as that, right? Horrible thing to happen to someone. You know, here you are trying to make a living, you know, earn a few bucks, and the customer assaults you. Horrible thing. And you could think that if you don't think about it for more than 15 seconds, or if you don't dig into the actual story, because there's always a little bit more to everything if you give it a closer inspection. But she also published a video of it, because she complained to DoorDash. DoorDash terminated or suspended the account of that customer, right? This is something you would expect, right? He did a big no-no, essentially, right? Then she got suspended on the app without giving her a reason, right? And that's all we knew, essentially. So she presented the video of her assault. And the assault was essentially the customer left instructions, which you typically do, and typically customers leave instructions. And when I first started doing DoorDash, I kind of missed a lot of these because I didn't know I had to read that. And sometimes they say, you know, don't use the doorbell, don't knock on the door, because the dog and the dog is going to start barking and the kid is sleeping, or something like that, right? Leave at the door, or don't leave at the door, knock on the door, or go in the back, or something like that, right? There's sometimes some instructions that you receive from the customer. She received an instruction to leave at the door. And this is not even like custom instruction. It's when you complete the order on the app, it gives you the option to pick one. You want it delivered to you, or you want it left at the, leave with the doorman, or something like that. And the code to the gate if required, right? That kind of stuff. So it's not even like customer did anything custom. It just asked him what to do with the food. He chose to leave at the door. Easy peasy. But what she did instead, because the door was cracked open, so she opened the cracked open door. So she entered his premises, and there he was on the couch, with his pants around his ankles. Okay? Hey, what you do on your own couch in the safety of your home is none of our business, okay? And she recorded that. The guy was sleeping, okay? The guy was not moving. The guy was sleeping. And she accused him of an assault, which implies that this was something that he actively did, right? That's kind of a definition of this. Right? You can't assault someone by sleeping. You can insult someone by sleeping if they're giving you a lecture on quantum mechanics and you fall asleep. Yeah, that can be an insult to the professor. But you can't assault someone sleeping. That doesn't make sense. So she posted that on TikTok many times. Obviously, TikTok took it down because, damn, that's someone's privacy was violated, right? I don't think that guy wants to have that video on TikTok or whatever. All right. So she got deactivated, and recently she got arrested. What are the charges? I have no idea, but I would guess that it would be maybe breaking and entering, right? Because you could interpret it that way, right? She essentially entered your house without permission, so that's breaking and entering. In my view, at least, I'm not a lawyer or anything, so I wouldn't know. But they charged her with something. Now, could she be charged with an assault? Yeah, I mean, obviously, being not a or not being a lawyer, then I can't really say much about that. But she did a big no-no, in my view. So here's the problem with, or not the problem. When she first posted that video, right? Because I didn't talk about it because there wasn't much to talk about other than, I immediately, when I saw that video, I thought to myself, no, you can't do that. I don't care if the door is wide open. You can't enter someone's house, especially if the instructions say leave at the door. And if you're a DoorDasher, time is money. Time is money. You gotta fulfill those orders as quickly as you can. And yeah, sometimes you have to wait 45 minutes at the restaurant for the food because they're busy, and then you get penalized because you didn't deliver on time, even though had nothing to do with you. You were waiting for food at the restaurant. And yeah, so I dealt with a lot of that as well. And then I just stopped accepting orders from certain places because they're always busy, and they don't. I think they just don't prioritize dashers, or they prioritize the walking customers or whatever. Anyways, you want to do it quickly, so if it says leave at the door, just leave at the door, and that's even better for you. Leave at the door and go away. Just go do another order, right? It's not that hard to not do stupid things. Just don't do them, and you'll be fine. So first thing that bothered me about this case was that try to imagine that the roles are reversed. It's a lady that left the instructions to leave the food at the door, and a man enters the premises, enters her house. She's on the couch butt naked, and he films her and publishes that recording on TikTok. A lot of people, especially women, would be enraged, rightfully so. But since it's a man, he gets accused of SA. Now, obviously, that lady is not a representative of all ladies. To the contrary, when I watched that video, I noticed that she seems very unstable. She was yelling at the camera, and that immediately raises red flag in my head, especially if the lady is accusing people of stuff. Right? That immediately raises red flag. Like, is she reliable? Is she a reliable witness, essentially, right? Did everything that she said actually happen? And it's not like I'm against, believe the victims, because that's just adding trauma. If someone got SA'd and now they have to, go through like some harsh process of actually proving that's adding trauma to the whole situation, right? So yeah, obviously that's not a solution, but on the other hand, you are making pretty serious accusations. So everybody is innocent until proven guilty, right? So it's not like I don't believe her, but based on her demeanor, I would like to see a little more evidence, and evidence was provided by her recording. So some people looked into her a little further, and that's why this case is kind of interesting, because what would be the purpose of doing that, right? Why did she enter the house? Then after she entered the house, why did she report an assault since when the guy was clearly sleeping? All right, it's a bit, we kind of jumped the gun. I don't know, indecent exposure maybe or something, but then again, even indecent exposure, you're in your house, that's one place where you're allowed to be naked and do whatever you want to do. You can't suddenly accuse someone of indecent exposure in their own house. What, am I not allowed to take a shower? And after taking a shower, I want to walk around the house with butt naked? I can do that. Even if you can see me through the window. You can't complain about that, because why are you staring at my window, right? As long as I don't go outside, it's all good. And if you complain about that I walk around my house naked, and you see that from your window, then again, don't look in my window, right? Or at least that's how I see it. This might be a legal discussion, right? And lawyers might have hours of discussions to do regarding that, perhaps. But essentially, it's no issue. So she reported him, and the The current explanation of that, or suspicion why, is clout chasing. And why are people thinking that? The people are thinking that based on her history. It looks like she tried on multiple occasions to go viral for something, and some people do that. Not in the, the most people don't do any, like, breaking the law or anything drastic to do that, but you can tell, especially for some channels, when that the video like a couple years ago went viral, and you see modern video from the channel that is trying to mimic that, right? Trying to go viral again, but this time it doesn't work. It's the science of virality is very difficult to describe or quantify and actually reproduce. You never know what's gonna go viral, and sometimes it's something that you would never thought that it would go viral, like ever. And it does. And in other cases, all the signs say that it should go viral, it should get a lot of views, and it gets not a lot of views, right? So, that's kind of a YouTube problems, the problems of YouTubers, right? Well, I guess she got her wish. She did go viral, and she's gonna have to either spend few days, maybe a few months even, in jail, or at least pay like some fines or something like that. And guess what? You can't do DoorDashing anymore, because when you apply for a DoorDash account, right, you give them your social. So I don't know that for a fact, but since you give them your social, I think they run like some background check on you, right? And in this case, if you have such a case, because it's not even just about the whether you have some criminal history or some problems with the history of problems with the law. If you got punished for, I don't know, tax evasion or something like completely unrelated, that's probably not a big deal. But if you were punished and even incarcerated for delivering food, then obviously DoorDash is not gonna give you the account, because now they're open to liability if they hire you, essentially. So you're unhireable on gig economy apps. That is a horrible thing to happen to someone, because that is always, if it wasn't for those DoorDash apps and Ubers and all that, if it wasn't for that, a lot of people would just starve in this country. Because in many cases, you don't have especially now, right? The job market is absolutely awful, and it's getting worse and worse because more people are getting laid off, right? And the companies are not hiring, and they are firing. So your competition grows every day. You also deal with extortion, basically stealing your personal data, phone calls, and stuff like that. Ghosting, the positions being, you apply to a position, and after a month you get the position either has been filled and you didn't even get an interview, or the position is no longer available, right? They're no longer hiring for that position. Right? That's notorious. In some cases, you go through 2 or 3 rounds of interview and you get ghosted after that, right? Not even a phone call or even the stupid email, like, we appreciate your time and stuff, but we decided to go with someone else, right? Sure, it's not a big deal, but at least you get that information. And when they ghost you, then you don't really know whether you're waiting for that or you're not waiting, and should you, maybe you have some other offers or some other processes you want to enter in, but you're not sure because you were pretty far with the other one, right? So job market is awful, but one thing that always always saves your butt in this country is the gig economy. When I got laid off a few years ago, first thing I did, I signed up for DoorDash. It took few hours to get activated, literally few hours. I don't remember, maybe couple hours, right? So when from the moment I decided to sign up, the next day I was already delivering food, right? And I worked that for a few weeks. I don't remember how long, maybe a month, right? So I'm not very experienced DoorDasher, but I can go back to DoorDash at any time, right? It's not a lot of money, but it's some money, right? If you have nothing else to do, you don't have any, skills or anything that you can utilize. The only source of income for you, the only potential source of income is a full-time job or part-time job or what have you. And nobody's hiring. Well, there's DoorDash. That saves your butt. So getting deactivated, permanently terminated in her case, that's not good. Second, she doesn't seem very stable. Third, I don't think her social media are also going to, pay anything. And the reason I know is that I don't get paid. I get paid next to nothing by YouTube, so I know I wouldn't be able to, sustain anything with just YouTube paycheck, right? So it's horrible, but in this case, I don't feel bad because she brought that on herself. And even when she, because that's why I don't feel bad, because we all make mistakes, right? She tried to go viral, she recorded the guy, published the video, and got the video got taken down, right? So then she should have re-evaluated the situation and say to herself that, well, there's something wrong. If they're taking down my video, I definitely did something wrong. But no, she kept doubling down on that and kept reposting that video and kept accusing the guy of a relatively serious crime. The guy that was asleep, right? The guy really didn't do anything. Imagine someone asking him when, say you were, the charges were brought against you, right? Then the charges were dropped, but it doesn't matter. After the charges were actually brought against you by the district attorney, you're already in trouble, right? Even if those charges are dropped later on, because there was enough evidence to bring charges against you. I know that sucks in this country, but that's the way it is. So imagine that you have to explain yourself, right? So what happened? How did you assault? It says here that you were charged with an assault. What happened? Well, I got drunk, I ordered some food, I jerked off, and I fell asleep on the couch. That's the explanation of your assault. Can you imagine that? So, I don't feel bad for her because she had multiple opportunities to rectify this situation, to just look at herself and say, well, either I did something wrong, but not even that. Just leave this one and try to go viral for something else, right? If you keep trying, you probably will get it, right? You'll get viral eventually. But no, she decided to double down, and now she's going to be paying the price. That's why I don't feel any sympathy for that. Mainly because she did it at someone else's expense. If she accused a big chain of something, right? A restaurant, and there's so many problems with DoorDash and all those apps, especially with DoorDash. They even recently made a requirement for employees to deliver one order a month, which I say that's a good direction, but it's absolutely useless. You're not gonna learn anything ordering one order a month. Plus, that's not your job, so even if you have to get stuck at the restaurant for an hour and a half and get penalties for not delivering the food on time, or like in my case, you can't open the bag that was sealed at the restaurant, right? So essentially, you don't know what you're delivering. So in some cases, I had one case where I had 3 bags. I delivered 3 bags, and then the customer calls me or texts me that, hey, where's my beans or something like that, and I don't know. I picked up 3 bags from the restaurant and I delivered to you 3 bags. That's all I know. If you call the restaurant, I even gave him I'll work with you because that was my last order of the day, right? Or at least that's what I established, right? Because I worked on a certain schedule, right? So say 2 hours between this hour and this hour, right? If that hits, then it's 15 minutes till the end or 10 minutes till the end. That's when you get the most orders, the last few minutes, because they're trying to bombard you with the orders, so you keep driving, or at least that's what it used to be. So that was my last order. I was already on the way home, but that restaurant was on my way. So I texted the guy, well, call the restaurant, and if they give you the missing item, I'll deliver it, right? No problem. And obviously the restaurant refused because they said they always check those big orders 3 times or 5 times, and they're sure that everything was in the bag. And the bags were sealed, so it's not like I was accused of stealing French fries or whatever was missing there. But situations like that happen, and it's notorious. So it's a very hard work. Maybe not very hard work, but it's not an easy job. So you're not gonna get that working or delivering 1 order a month, having a full-time job, right? That's kind of pointless, but going in the right direction, right? So there were so many opportunities to go viral just talking about that problem, right? Actually, and in that sense, you would also be kind of helping the community of drivers if you brought attention to those problems. And if it goes viral, then the company has to do something about it, right? So it's a win-win. You get viral, you got what you wanted, and you benefited the cause. You contributed something to the community and stuff like that. And in this case, you did go viral, but you probably ruined your life for the next decade and a half, depending on how long they keep those records, right? I don't know if what she's going to be charged with, and some charges stay with you for life, right? Especially if you were incarcerated. So, she may have ruined her life in certain sense, right? It's there are worse things that you can do, right? She didn't, she didn't rob the bank. She didn't commit like battery or something like that. But still, it's still relatively serious. And again, if certain jobs are no longer available for you, and getting kicked off DoorDash, you really have to do some soul searching and just look yourself in the mirror if you get canceled on a gig economy app that takes a couple hours to sign up for, and you don't even need a car. I'm actually not sure, but in Europe it's very common. The Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff, that a lot of bikers do that. It's probably also popular in larger areas in US. I don't know. I haven't seen any bikers delivering food, but in Europe, plenty. And they take subway, they take trams, buses and stuff, right? They have foldable bikes, or they just don't care. Technically, you shouldn't be riding a bike or having a bike in the train, technically. But no one enforces that, and so I've seen, like, every time I took a subway, I would see guys on the bikes with this big Uber Eats bag on their backs. It's like kind of like a box, big big box. So yeah, you screwed up royally, big time, if you get cancelled from DoorDash. But again, I find it more funny. I hope the guy is not gonna get any flack for this, because really, how unfair it is. I can't express enough how unfair this is, that literally you were just chilling at your house and suddenly you're accused of stuff, and horrible stuff as well. You know, it's not like the neighbor accused you of, spraying his cat with water because it was meowing too loud, or leaving your trash cans too long, or something like that, right? No, it's hard essay. Damn, crazy. Well, anyways, let's wrap it up. I'm gonna do some socket replacements now. I got 2 boards. Yeah, and we're gonna ship the ECM, and I got some packages to pick up. So we'll see what else we got. But this one is going out today. Is second day air service, and I gotta figure out. Let's pray that the fume extractor I ordered on Amazon, like $120, $150, something like that, that is gonna actually do its job and remove that odor. But how long is it gonna work, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's activated carbon in there. So how long does it last? If it's gonna be for 2 batches or 4 batches, then the price is the cost of making the flux is gonna go up. And so unfortunate, because finally I got the viscosity right. So I was so happy about that, and no drying, no clogging the needle and all that. So I was so happy about that, and this morning the phone call that, yep, there's going to be an infraction. I didn't get an infraction yet, but they're about to give me an infraction. And in case you don't know, 3 infractions and your lease is terminated, and I'm homeless. And since I don't have a job, it's not like I can rent another apartment. No one's gonna give me an apartment if I don't have a job. So kind of a pickle. But as I said, if it rains, it pours. But that's why, I get a little pick-me-up from people that are in much worse situation than I am, and they kind of brought it upon themselves. Crazy story. Oh my god. Alrighty, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you guys in the next one.